Assalamu alaikum. At this juncture of human existence, we can all see in what state the situation of the world is. Alhamdulillah, Allah has given us a heart, but at the heart, so long as this heart feels compassion for others, we will keep digging within us and try to find a way how to help others. Keeping self-focus, self-focusing on ourselves is not the solution. We will not be able to change this world if we do not step out and try to focus on the situation around us, how to transform and change the world. Because this needs a mindset change. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the condition of a people unless they change what is within themselves. This is very important, brother. If we don't change the mindset and we keep the same mindset that we are used to, we will never change ourselves and change the world around us. Mind you, all these years of colonialism over us has been imposed upon our fathers and on us, has make us develop into a Western mindset. This must change, because this shackle of colonialism, we need to remove it in order to free ourselves and return back to the way of Allah, to the fitrah. Because without the fitrah, we will not be guided. Fitrah means natural instinct, which Allah has put into every human being, to think clearly and know the values which we need to hold on to, so that we can change and impact the society. But the values which has been imposed over us are Western values. This so-called civilized society. Mind you, I'm not saying that all Western people are bad. I feel that the majority of them are good people, but unfortunately, their system has been hijacked by few people, oligarchic billionaires, who make the rules and the values which should prevail in the society. No, values from the time of Adam until the last human being will always be the same values which Allah has decreed for each human being. This shackle and mental imprisonment is not something which is new. Because you look at the history of the Bani Israel, like Allah described. They were imprisoned. They were enslaved by Pharaoh, the Pharaoh of Egypt, who subjugated them for centuries. But eventually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took them out of Egypt and enabled them to cross the water and go through and to liberate themselves by reaching the Sinai desert. When they were there, they were a free people. But unfortunately, Musa, the prophet of Allah, had many harsh, difficult situations with them, because they were mourning, groaning, and they were still thinking about their time in Egypt. Though they were under enslaved in Egypt, they remember the good time they were having there, the lentils, they were having the cucumber, they were having all the things they could get from the land. But they were under domination of Pharaoh. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted them to go to the promised land so that they can strive as a people who believe in the oneness of Allah. But during their time in the Sinai, they were still resisting Pharaoh. They were still resisting Musa alayhi salam. Mourning, groaning to him, look where we are in the desert. But Musa kept telling them, be patient, you will reach the promised land, and there you will stand on your own feet, and you will be independent and become an independent thinking people. The constant mourning was not helping at all. Even like when they had to go to the promised land, they tell Musa, no, we're not going into that land. There's a people in there. That people is a very strong people. We're not going there to fight them and live with them. We need, so eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls them to stay in the desert for 40 years because they were not willing to go into that land which was promised to them. Which Allah, had they been obedient, Allah would have made it easy for them to settle there. So they wander about in the desert for 40 years. The wisdom behind this, brothers and sisters, is for you to understand that 40 years is like 2 generations. So 2 generations, one generation who was born, who came from the first generation which came from Egypt, they were still the people with that enslaved mindset, looking back at Egypt. But here in the desert, they were not happy. So the generation which was born in the desert, 20 years, they grew up and they had to go and look for their livelihood, look for things to hunt and bring their food, which was a harsh environment and a harsh living. So that was the second generation. Then came the third generation. The third generation, which is another 20 years, they become much harsher and much stronger in spirit, and freedom-loving people who knew that they have to go out and look and make their living and look for their livelihood. So that third generation was a generation which grew up completely detached from that first generation, who still have got their mind and heart connected with Egypt. The love being under what you call it, that subjugation mindset. No, Alhamdulillah, the third generation went through a process that they became harsh and truly people with fortitude, because their fortitude was within, that they developed that inner fortitude which propels them, which make them strive to earn their livelihood, relying on Allah, that Allah will provide for them. This is the third generation. So when the old generation disappeared, the third generation of Israelites were people with strong fortitude, So after that period, Allah, because there was another prophet, I think it was Joshua, who was trained by Musa alayhi salam, and they were able to, together, the third generation, enter into the promised land and settle in that land and resist whatever resistance which was coming from the people who didn't want them to stay in that land. Subhanallah. Their strong solidarity and fortitude enabled them to enter that promised land and settle there, but biiznillah, with the permission of Allah. So this is a mindset which we believers, we are Muslim, but what's happening? We have got one foot in Islam and one foot in the Western system of life. We don't want that for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Udkhulu fi silmi kafa, enter the deen completely. This, when you enter the deen completely, your fortitude, your inner fortitude and your mindset will develop and become a Muslim mindset. Alhamdulillah, we have seen what's happened recently. Brother Sami was in prison for 2 weeks in America. But Alhamdulillah, Brother Sami kept his cool and eventually he was freed. As you know, he's a human activist, always focusing on helping others and making them stand on their own feet and develop a mindset that we need to fight for freedom and justice. This is the spirit, Brother Sami Hamdi, a young Muslim of 33 years old. So the youth of today must develop the Muslim mindset and develop strong fortitude, develop the faith, so that we need to stand up for others, inshallah. This is the kind of human activists we need to, each and every one of us, become, inshallah. This is the message I'm leaving for you, brother. Don't stay one foot in Islam and one foot in the Western system of life. We need to enter Islam completely and develop the Quranic mindset, so that Allah will detach us from this Western system which is holding us back and preventing us to help humanity. I'll leave you, reflect on this. Inshallah, you will become a human activist and help change this chaotic and anarchic world which we are living, inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala nabi Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahu bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin.